Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Welcome back to Tableau Snippet and ISIL Academy YouTube channel. And today we're going to go for the module number 5 in our learning, where we're going to talk about how to work with blending of data. Again, this time around the data set is a little different here because I'm trying to create data from our previous video. The same data I'm going to use, but the module is different here. In this data, we will be seeing how to work with joining data and how to use the blending data, and we will learn some simple logics of how to work with data set and how to use Tableau's best practice methodology. Here you can use whatever you want to use here. I'm using the best practice methodology to make sure that the data looks more legible and readable. So without further ado, let's see how to do that. So I'm going to go back to our Tableau edition, and I'm going to bring the data set that we used in our previous list of data, where we used Amazing Mart EU. Again, when I bring the data set into it, I will automatically have the data set here. Again, if you want to know more about the difference between a data modeling and join me, you can go to the previous video. The video number 9 and 10 will allow you to get the idea. So I'm going to just go and do this component again. So I'm going to create the video first, and then when I place the cursor, this is going to be my logical table. I want a physical relationship with the tables here, so I'm going to go back and click this and then open the data set here, and then I'm going to add a physical relationship with the data set here. That way it's going to give you an inner joint automatically. We cannot create multiple joints in this data set because it's not going to really work better. We learned about this data a little bit earlier. I will reiterate this data one more time for our referential logics. By that way, we can learn more about how the data works for us. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm building a data set, and I have a situation that came into existence that I have a sales target set for each and every category of my sales, which is actually defined in a month. And then it is gradually increasing in some situations. And I have 3 categories here. The first category talks about furniture. Second category talks about office supply, where my targets are not raising every month. It raises once in a quarter. And when I scroll down, I have the third category of data set, where I am dealing with the technology, where the data set grows only once in a year. So the target is not changing very regularly, but it is changing differently, and it is all given in months here. And I have data set in sales target only called the month and the year, category and target. But when I go for the order breakdown, here I have the data set. What is the order ID? What is the product number or name? Sales, profit, discounts, quantity, category and subcategory is mentioned in here. When I go back to my list of orders, here I get the order details alone. So when I connect the list of orders and order breakdown, the common component that connects with these two data are order ID. When you go for sales target and order breakdown, this connects via a category by default. But I want to connect the data by the sales done by the order date here. So when I want to do that, I want to connect the sales target sheet to the list of orders, which we may not be able to do directly. This is where our data modeling or joins might not work for us. This is where we will be using our blending technique. So now I've added the data set here. When I go back to the data set in this list, now I'm going to build the first set of data. Let me break this video into 2 different data videos, because that way you can absorb or you can reiterate or relive how this data has been built over a structure here. So here I'm making sure that I'm going to use this for my sales target comparison here. To do that, I need to mention the data set in that particular pattern. So what I am willing to do right now is I want to know the categorical sales what I did during the period of the order dates, and then how long the order date goes on, and I want that in a granularity, not in a aggregate measure. I want it as granular as possible. To do this, I'm going to drag my order date to my column, and generally the order date will automatically be in aggregate measures for me with a year in it. But I want this to be not a year, I want this to be a month, that too granular way. So to convert an aggregate measure to granularity, I'm going to click the right hand side of the year here, and then when I scroll down, and then I can select the months at the bottom of the screen. By that way, it breaks each and every month and each and every year in place for me. Now I want to drag the category here, and then let's give me the data set, and then I'm going to drag the sales here. Now I got my list here. This is the data sets that I get the list clearly. If you want to differentiate each and every technology separately, we are good to go. Just bring the sales node to the colors here. By that way, the colors will change here. But I don't want the same color to come into play, so I want to differentiate that with different dimension here. And before I start making this data set better, I'm going to go back to my automatic marks here instead of choosing a line diagram here, which is giving me a good output here on the normal front. But again, I want to see the sales happen on each and every month separately. So if it is a bar chart, this will look even more better. So now I got the list here. Now I want to, I've added the color of the sales here instead of color of sales. If I add the category of sales, that will be nice. So let me add the category of sales here so that it changes the color beautifully for me. So based on my joins, I can able to build the data set better here. So this is how the joining of data set has happened. Now I want to bring in the data source of the sales target here. As I told you earlier, I may not be able to bring them in the same data sources what I've built here. So when I go back to the data source, you can see the breakup here. I cannot add a sales target next to my order breakdown and connect that sales target with the list of orders here. That's where I'm going to bring the data set even differently here. Excuse me. So now I'm going to rename this data set to understand whether what are the two data sets that I used in the list here. So I'm going to call this as order breakdown. Now, if I want to create the blending here, then I have to come back to our data source again, and I have to add this data again as a new data source from the same sheet again, and then this time I'm going to take only the sales target in the sheet. When I do that, the sales target data set will automatically populate here. Now I go back to my sheet 1. You will see there is a connection as automatically created in our list for the category, and the sales target is connected with my list of orders here, but not with the list of orders first sheet and with the order breakdown here. If you want to see what is the blending has automatically happened here, you can go back to your worksheet. You can go back to your data, and then you can edit the blending relationship here. You can see that automatically the list of orders and order breakdown is connected with sales target here with a category by default. It is an automatic one. Now I would like to create 2 more dimensions to the data set here. Normally, if you are dealing with only 1 year of data set, a month addition for the blending will be more than sufficient. But my data set comes in here is more than 1 year here. So that's the reason why I am picking up the hierarchical data set of blending here, where I start with an year and then add that with a month later. So I'm going to go back to our data and then edit the blend relationship. Go to customize blending, add the year from the first table. That is the data set that I have for the list of orders and order breakdown, and search the secondary table that is called the year, which allows you to get the data set and I give a note here. That's going to give you a year to year blending. Now I want to go to ultimate data set. I don't want to give the complete data hierarchy here. So I'm going to the months here, and then I'm selecting the months in this first. When I give an OK, that's going to add the months to me. When I give an OK, that will automatically add. And you can see that there is another link. There is a small a pin is started coming to the data set here. Now, if I add my sales target next to the data set, you can see the sales target next to the data set can be added here automatically. And I'm sorry, I didn't brought the wrong data. Sorry about that. So I'm going to bring the targets in here. So now you can see both my data sets are coming up here. I have all data that are coming in here, and I have the first data set which comes as sum of the sales here, and I have the target sales I'm simply. As I told you here, when I add into my data set, the data set are given in such a way that the data's targets are set either every month basis in the furniture, quarterly once in office supply, and yearly once in the sales target here. Now I cannot compare and contrast the data better. This is where our data set has to work a little better than normal. Now I want to change the target data visualization from bar chart to an area chart. That way it will look better for us. I'm going to go back to my marks again, instead of bar chart, I'm going to convert that into an area chart here. So now the area chart comes into play. If you want to make the opacity a little better, so I can make it a 78% here. I can reduce it furthermore if I wanted to here. And once I did this, now I want to compare this to as one data set. To do this, we are about to use a logic called dual axis chart. So how do I bring the dual axis chart here? I'll place the cursor in my target. We do a right click here. Just going to give you a dual axis chart on the list. When I click this, automatically my dual axis happens here. But unfortunately, my data will not be complete here because the scale factor of the data set or the axis factor of the data set might not be the same. On the sales front, my axis factor comes as 0K, 20K, and 40K, wherein my target is not coming as such. In that way, it comes as 20K. That's the maximum one that I have here. To make this data work better, I'm going to give a right-hand side. I'll come here, place the cursor data set of target, right click it, and then I'll just synchronize the axis also. By that way, both my axis on the sales and as well as my target will be spick and span here. If you want to reduce the opacity a little, yes, you can do that. You can see the data set. If you want to bring the sales to the front and then target to the back, you can do it. But again, generally I keep the target in front because I can see how many times I've received the target in here or not. If you want to make this data look better, you want to check each and every data in a much more detailed pattern. Then you can drag the order days to the list and then make the year into play. And then I'll use all here and then apply and give an OK. And I'll take a show filter here. And then I'll remove or I'll change this formatting to a singular value slide and then I'll drag and drop it here. And then when I move this to the all slide, you can see that what happens for the year 2011 here. So you can granularly see each and every year separately if you wanted to. And you can see how many times the targets has been crossed when on each and every category and how many times the target hasn't been crossed on each and every category. Overall, what happens in the data set, you can see them all in our module size. Yeah, I just add a list here. So I've just created the following list. I just used the joins and I show how the blending works in Tableau. How I can calculate the point here. And then if you want to create a calculated field in the list, you can create. So I really didn't require a calculated field to create here. I just use the blending and joining. Really allow me to make our data set work better. And this is how we will use blending in Tableau and we can compare a data set using the following list. I thought that it will take a lot of time for me to explain this component, so that's why I said I'll put them in 2 videos. But the module 5 added in one simple video itself. This is Vinod signing from Tableau Template and myself Academy YouTube channel. Your Tableau basic learning program. Academy.